The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you, and welcome to the SpotTrack.com podcast. I'm Kevin Sylvester, along with Paul Peck. We're from BuffaloSportsPage.com and the founder of SpotTrack.com, Mike Giannetti. And today, this is the second time we've done it from here, right? From the SpotTrack.com headquarters, as opposed to the studios that we normally record from. And I was going to say, since I'm not going to lie to people, we're having a beer while we're doing this because it's the holidays, and this may be a regular thing if we're getting.
Kevin lives in a dry town.
It's going to cost me a fortune.
I need to move.
It's just a dry refrigerator. I don't know how to figure that out.
I save the good stuff for special occasions, Paul. It's your tolerance level. I like to drink the heavy stuff.
Providing this podcast as a service, because if you've reached your limit of your family time,
That's right.
through Thanksgiving, you want to pop
Right.
the headsets in,
Dive into some math for an hour.
and pop the headsets on, and if the football games kind of lose their competitiveness on Thursday, we're here for you.
Yeah.
We used to, my cousin's ex-husband, I could say that now, he's ex. I used to think he was such a dick on the holidays. He'd sit over and read a book, right?
Oh, no. That's the winner.
Now I get it. Right?
Nisky weed in a recliner? Are you kidding me?
There's conversation topics you can get into that are family Thanksgiving appropriate.
That is...
Yeah, these days. Oof.
Yeah, well...
Even the football.
We do know one. Well, even football, but we do know one, and I think the consensus of not just this group, but of anybody that's a football fan, Kevin and Mike, was the Monday night game was one of the most amazing games that any of us have seen, and it lived up to what we expected, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, almost exceeded.
We knew it was going to be a great game. I don't know that any of us would have said that each team was going to score 50 points, but we probably would have thought they were going to score 40, and it was just an incredible game with a little bit of everything.
What was the over/under? Was it 80?
1-0, was it in the 80s?
No. What was that? What was the actual number though? Do you know?
I didn't look.
It had to be 80.
It had to be. It had to
So
be.
they crushed it, obviously, but
My guess would have been, I'll look what it was.
I bet 80. I bet 80, 81.
It had to be close, right?
But here's my takeaway, because we've been obviously harping on offense, and that's where the money's going, and that's where the teams are building themselves in free agency and these drafts. The good teams, I should say. Not all the teams have caught on yet, but here's the thing, though. When you play that much offense, you're going to have some defense, right? I mean, there were some significant turnovers.
Yeah.
As much as we talk about the offense,
It was the difference.
Defense that you don't have to make 5 or 6 plays, but if you make them big, like they did, like the Rams did, then it becomes the difference in the game. Because if you're really not going to have the ability to stop them sort of toe-to-toe,
Right.
then you need the odd tip, interception, fumble, whatever it is that winds up being the difference in a 3-point game.
Right. I'm not going to be Jason Witten and try to pronounce that Ram player's name. Fine. Sounds good. That was brutal, but he had a hell of a game. He's the defensive player of the week, and was he not the takeaway? Him and Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald was awesome.
Mahomes' turnovers were the reason they lost that game. There's no question. He admitted to that. But to me, the takeaway was, you had a ton of points and a ton of offense, but defense still needs to be there.
All right.
But it only needs to be there in little spurts, or it needs to be there when Aaron Donald can do things no one else in the league can do to change the game.
Yeah.
I always think back to the Colts era of Peyton Manning, and everybody always ripped on their defense. It wasn't very good. Well, it didn't have to be very good. All it needed to do was have Bob Sanders make a couple of plays a game that nobody else could make, and it was the difference in a 35-31 win.
But that was Marcus Peters, right? That was Marcus Peters. I mean, he made his plays when he needed to make them, and that was the difference. And Sam Shields fell over a few times. That's what he does. But, I guess the point in here is when the offense is that exciting, the defense is going to be exciting too, because you're going to have crazy plays on both sides of the ball, right?
It was crazy on both sides of the ball. Aaron Donald, we went from the night before watching Khalil Mack, like this guy's the best player in football, and then Aaron Donald, I'm like, boy, which one? Which
doesn't
one?
matter. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. So back to the over/under, it was 64.
Really that low?
I did hear that Vegas lost 7 digits
Yes.
on the over-under spreads.
Yes, that's correct. Vegas got crushed because everybody bet the over.
Yeah.
and they got beat by 41 points. Whoever set that handicapping line, they got fired, gone, right? I mean, how are you that far off?
Because Monday Night Football's been terrible, right?
64 points.
I mean, even the Patriots couldn't score on Monday Night Football. Apparently. Man,
I don't know. Like,
yeah,
that
is it. Let's just end with this. Is it the start of a new generation of football? I mean, is this where every team's going to aspire to do now?
I hope so, because it was such a great thing to watch, right? I was the Saints game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching, even though it was a blowout, because I was looking forward to seeing the plays of the Saints scoring. Like I like seeing excellence. Like it's like when Tiger Woods used to blow everybody away.
Right.
You still watch because you want to see greatness.
Right.
And you watch these guys score. That's great. I mean, I enjoy good defensive play every now and then, but I think fans want to see the offense more. I guess the argument against that, if every game's like that, then it won't be. We probably won't think it's as great, right?
Aspiring to it and being able to do it are two different things, and that goes back to personnel, which kind of leads us rolling into where we want to get to here today. But again, you have two arguably of the best playing quarterbacks in the league right now in that game. Unfortunately, that's still a short list. That's less than half the guys in the league that can do what Mahomes and Goff did, which means less than half the teams in the league may love to be able to play that way, just not going to be able to.
Yeah, there's no question. I do think, though, that there'll be at least a look at this draft at players you might not have thought about 2 years ago, right? I mean, these Tyreek Hill kind of players. Those guys exist in college football, and they have. Yeah. They just haven't translated to scouting because, their size, they're athletes, but can they really play a receiver position? Well, that is the receiver position now. It's get yourself open and catch a ball and get yourself 5 or 6 60 yards, or get downfield and beat everybody to the end zone, right? So I do think there's a shift in terms of that. Look, Tyreek Hill, and we're going to get to guys like him, these young superstars who need to get paid. Tyreek Hill is valuing at $18 million right now. And he doesn't do a lot.
And he's not the prototype.
That's right. He's not the big guy who's going to help you in the red zone, but that's not the offense anymore.
Right.
So,
what I think Antonio Brown sort of opened the door for those guys a little bit, because Antonio Brown's a lot closer to who Tyreek Hill is in size and stature and playmaking ability than maybe even the big hulking guys that we're so used to considering the best receivers in the league.
Yeah.
So, all right. So there you go. So now what we want to use that as an impetus to talk a little bit about. Is this league changing, and how is it going to change in the way they pay their
I think
players?
it's already. I think it's changed. I think teams are building around offense. You've got to outscore teams. You have to. But it's not like this hasn't been the case in the past. Let's think back to we're here in Buffalo. You think back to the Bills, the 4 years in a row. They were an offensive juggernaut, much like we're seeing. Maybe didn't score as much, but they were an offensive weapon. They took it from the Bengals, who had that great, right? I mean, Boomer Esiason had that great offense that they ran, the no huddle and such, and Jim Kelly, I think, perfected it better than the Bengals had, and maybe some better personnel.
And you had the Rams, greatest show on turf, right?
The Rams, the greatest show on turf. So let's not discount the Patriots here. They didn't win with. They didn't win Super Bowls with defense, really. To me, it was Tom Brady and the offense. The 49ers, the Super Bowls they won. They won it with offense.
Even a little bit of the run and shoot of Warren Moon and the Oilers that most people scoffed at, and most people said that'll never work. Isn't that what the Chiefs and Rams are doing now?
It is, right?
Isn't that what Tyreek Hill looks a lot like those receivers from the run and shoot and the Houston Gamblers of the USFL?
You know what's funny, though, Kevin? Almost all those teams we just talked about, they didn't win. They didn't get to the finish line. So, I mean, it's the most cliched term in football, but defense wins championships. We're going to have to see who prevails in this season, because the Eagles, look at the Eagles, that offense wasn't great last year.
Right.
That was a defensive-minded team. That was Jim Schwartz's Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they won by they scored a gazillion points.
They did, but that wasn't a great offense, is what I'm saying.
Well, it wasn't that game, though.
We weren't talking about the Eagles' offense like we're talking about the Chiefs right now.
No, we were not.
You know what I mean? There was a defensive presence on that team that drove them through the Nick Foles era, right?
Sure.
And especially in the regular season to finish it off here, which is where we are here. I'm very I'm very interested to see how this finishes because
who's the team?
I don't know, right? I mean,
if
because
your
the Saints
point
are in the
is
same
true,
boat too.
Because we're talking about the Chiefs, the Rams, the Saints,
the Steelers, the Patriots.
Who's the team that can come up and clamp somebody down defensively and prove Mike's point?
Well, clamp you down defensively.
Well, but that could be holding you to 28.
If I'm looking right now at the contending teams that can score a ton of points and play different styles, I think the Rams right now are the team, and I'll tell you why. Because they didn't run Gurley,
but they just gave up 50, Kevin.
I know they gave up 50, but they got into a shootout, right? I mean, those things happen. Sometimes you get in games and it's just like, wow, what is going on here? Yeah. And you get wrapped up in it and you can't stop it. I mean, they're playing the guy who's probably the league MVP, at least the offensive MVP, and Patrick Mahomes. The guy's unbelievable. He's an incredible player, and so they couldn't stop him. But they did at times. They did it. That was amazing. They did at times.
Let me put this to you:
and forced turnovers.
They got to Mahomes. They're not getting to Tom Brady.
No, they're not getting to Tom Brady.
You know what I mean? So that's where I always end the conversation: is Brady is always going to prevail with those defensive lines. The Rams have no secondary. They're going to throw on Sam Shields all night if that's the Super Bowl, in my opinion. So. To me, everybody has a weakness.
Comes back, yeah.
If he comes back, they definitely need him back. But yeah, I don't know. Isn't there a sleeper out there? Right? Don't the Steelers look a little better right now?
Steelers look better.
I mean, that's a strong team, and Ben Roethlisberger is carrying that team, but they seem to be more balanced in terms of what we're talking about here, right?
I think it could be like a Chargers team.
I love that too.
That that can throw now Bosa and Ingram and some of those guys at you and do some things defensively. And certainly Phillip Rivers is no slouch as a quarterback offensively.
But I also think one thing we haven't mentioned about the defense in that game. So many quick strikes, right, in the passing game. You're back on the field.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I mean, there wasn't any killing the clock and running the football in that game. And that affects the defense, for sure.
How do you build your team around this?
I'm building offense first.
But you got to get a quarterback.
No question.
You can't. You can say, I'm going to build offense, but until you get a quarterback, you're going to bang your head against the wall.
Or if you have those pieces and you could have got the quarterback, you know where I'm going with this, Paul.
Stop already. Well,
what do you mean stop? Hold on. See, he can't take this. But, we're here in Buffalo.
Oh, you're such a second guessing thing.
In that game,
what ifs thing.
In that game, they had two receivers that if they're starting here with Pat Mahomes throwing the football, it'd be a different story here, would it not?
Watkins, Woods, and Mahomes.
How about the coaching? You're telling me that Andy Reid and the coaching staff have nothing to do with that?
Of course. They have an offensive coordinator that came from the Patriots and Alabama. You're telling me he can't figure out some of those great schemes we saw? You bet your bippy he can.
I'm not sure. All right.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, so let's talk about some of the stars of those games, this game, Mike.
Let's transition this way, Paul, because sort of where we're going is how do you build your team when you've got superstars and maybe you don't have the quarterback? Right?
Okay.
Let's start there because let's talk about the Saints. The Saints, to me, are one of the most interesting teams. Obviously, right now, I think they are the odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl, by the way.
I think they're the best team. They have a good enough defense that makes me feel better about their defense's ability to make a few stops to win a game.
And it's a banged-up defense, and they're going to get healthy at the right time, I think. So that's going to work to their favor. But they've also got they're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl in terms of Vegas. They're also Drew Brees is the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Okay, and he's signed through next year. And then who knows? Huge question mark. He's completing 80% of his passes. He's absolutely defying Earth right now, right?
Yes.
And obviously, there's no appearance that he's slowing down. So maybe he does, sign a new contract and go from there. Let's assume he doesn't. Let's assume they win. Maybe they win again next year, and then he rides off into the sunset like Peyton Manning did. Okay. What do you do then with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, who are going to be on that timeline to need a ridiculous amount of money, possibly at the same time Drew Brees is walking away? What do you do? If you don't have the quarterback, right? If Taysom Hill's not your guy, if Bridgewater's gone at that point, if you've drafted a guy but maybe it's not a home run, what do you do if you're the Saints? Do you let these two superstars walk? They're going to be worth $30 million combined, maybe 35.
That's a great question. It's a great question. I'm struggling to give you a definitive answer. I think I think Sean Payton is such a good head coach, and they have such a good system built around them that they'll be able to find the next quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, he won't be the next Drew Brees, but he'll be the next. Maybe it's Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll shift the approach of the offense to take advantage of what Hill can do, and because the weapons are so good around him, that he'll be adequate to good.
Alex Smith-like, right?
Yeah, and so I think to answer your question, you have to pay Thomas and Kamara for that reason.
All right. So you just made my argument for Mahomes in Buffalo with Watkins.
That's right.
And Wood. Because you're saying, hey, the weapons around him are good enough to make the quarterback
And the head coach is
good enough.
great, Kevin. That's the difference.
I think the difference is the quarterback.
I agree.
think coaches coach to the quarterback they have and the ability that their quarterback, the abilities they have and the mental abilities their quarterbacks have. You know,
And the relationship with the coach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of things Sean Payton knows that he can do with Drew Brees.
Yes.
And that Drew Brees can change it. You look at what Andy Reid lets Pat Mahomes do at the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes changes a lot of things at the line of scrimmage.
He started 11 games, 10 games.
Yeah,
and he looks like Tom Brady out there.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He looks incredible what he's doing. And frankly, you watch the three teams we're talking about, the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Saints. You look at how much they change at the offensive line. It's the aptitude of the quarterback. And really, let's go back to Boomer Esiason, Jim Kelly, and Warren Moon. They did the same things.
Yeah.
The same thing. So
They were generals out there.
yeah. So I respectfully disagree in that Sean Payton's brilliant. He's doing what coaches have done for the last 30 years, depending upon which quarterback they have.
So the Saints signed Brandon Marshall to sort of fill that Des Bryant void, and he hasn't
Which is funny, which is
I
what,
know.
basically practice. That's the void.
That's what he's doing. But did you hear his comments this week?
No.
Okay, so Brandon Marshall came out and basically said he is doing his best to get up to speed, but he has been in the league for over a decade. He's been on great teams. He's won. He has never seen anything like this Saints system. He said to his quote, it's a machine. And you just have to get inside and understand what's happening or you're going to be completely lost. So to your point, it appears that they have basically like a factory working out there, right? And Drew Brees and Sean Payton, are obviously on the same page. And it takes time for these guys to come in and understand what's happening. But obviously it's working because Drew Brees is completing a ridiculous amount of passes. He's making the right throws. And it appears to be on purpose, is my point. You know what I mean? Like, all of this appears to be calculated, and you can't just bring in X guy off the street and throw him out there and it's going to work. So I agree with you that replacing Drew Brees is more important than even keeping Michael Thomas. But here's an interesting situation. They're going to know the right thing to do next year when they see what happens to the New York Giants. Because the New York Giants have this right now.
Yes, they do.
They have Saquon Barkley and they have Odell Beckham Jr. both signed for 3+ years. And they just have to fill in a quarterback to make it work. And if it works, the Saints are good to go. You sign both those guys, you fill in the next guy, you get the machine running again, and you go, right? Because that is the same system. I'm not sure Pat Shurmur is Sean Payton, and we'll see.
Right.
But the Giants do have the situation that the Saints will have in 2 years.
Yeah,
Interesting. It's a very interesting comparison. I would have never have guessed that's where you were going to go with the comparison, but it does make a lot of sense.
Now, to your point on coaching, Paul, I'll give you a play that supports your thesis on, hey, you got these brilliant coaches. That middle screen they ran to Travis Kelce was unbelievable.
Yeah. And Mahomes missed him a few times, too. I mean, he had him all day there.
But, they faked the screen left, they faked the screen right. They sat in the middle. I'm like, how many times did it take to figure that out in practice, right? Because they probably just put that in that week because you hadn't seen it before. Right. It was such a remarkable play. Just incredible stuff. So
you have to have a great quarterback. I think we're all, there's no question. But a great quarterback with a great offensive mind and a connection that guys like Brees and Peyton have together just elevates you to a different level.
Need?
Or Reed and Mahomes, or Peter King wrote a great story. He spent the night before
that was phenomenal
in the hotel with Brees and Peyton, and what you got out of it was that these guys are just incredibly in tune with each other.
You know what else you need? And I don't think it's said enough. You just need balls, right? I mean, the coaches and the quarterback need balls. You've got to be able to call that play. And think of that play and run that play in practice and then be able to say this is the time to use it. I mean, we're in Buffalo.
Right.
When's the last time we've seen a creative play like that?
Well,
in this
and look
town?
at who you're talking about. You're talking about two veteran coaches in Reed and Payton, and
Yes.
maybe the ballsiest young coach ever in McVay.
Right, but he had no clout. He came in with
Didn't
balls.
matter.
Right.
It appears that does not matter to him.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we need more of that. We
He
need
walked in
more
the door
guys
and
to
said,
come
I'm
and say,
as good as Peyton and
That's right.
Brady and Belichick, and I don't care that I've never coached before. I'm as good as those guys.
By the way, we've been trashing the ESPN guys a lot here. Booger McFarland had the line of the year. Did you hear it?
I may have. Oh, somebody tell
Jeff Fisher.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't hear. No,
I
go
did
ahead.
hear this.
He basically said Jeff Fisher had this guy on the bench calling him a bust. He goes something along the lines of, "Shame on you, Jeff Fisher."
Yeah.
I
Because
did hear
Jared
that. Yep.
Goff's an MVP candidate, and he looked phenomenal.
And I think there's the prime example of a difference that a coach can make.
No
You know,
question.
I
That's-
mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Now, again, I think it drives me crazy because they kept bringing it up. Jared Goff wasn't a bust. Anybody that called Jared Goff a bust was being an idiot. He was a rookie quarterback who started on a bad team. But to call him a bust was stupid.
The storyline, though, Paul, if you remember, was that he wasn't getting the playbook. He wasn't mentally able to keep up with the playbook. And isn't that Jeff Fisher's fault, too?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what I always thought. I didn't
Right.
take that as a Jared Goff shot.
His wasn't who was his offensive coordinator there? Wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Was it McCoy?
Mike? No,
it
that was
wasn't. He
Chargers.
Chargers.
No, I
He
don't
was
think so.
Chargers. I get. See now that they're that way again.
It all went wrong. It doesn't matter.
It went terribly wrong.
So speaking of Goff,
But I want to say one thing about you mentioned ESPN guys. I want to know what kind of tea Joe Tessitore drinks because how his voice lasted the entire game. The guy makes a first down sound like it's a Super Bowl winning touchdown, and for 105 points in the game, I don't know how he lasted.
I got to give Bill Simmons some credit. He had the tweet of the night. Bill Simmons said, if Gus Edwards was calling this game, he'd be
Gus
dead.
Johnson.
Gus Johnson.
If Gus Johnson was calling this game,
Yes.
he'd be dead.
You're right.
That is true.
Yes.
Amazing.
So Jared Goff, where is he on the contractual front? What's going to be the story with him moving forward?
Yeah, so Goff and Mahomes are obviously the soon-to-be breadwinners here in terms of the money, I think. And let me preface this with, I'm not sure how this is all going to play out, right? Because we're talking about these offenses and these multiple weapons. And look, the cap isn't going to jump $30 million, right?
No.
It's still going to go up $10 million every year, and that's standard. So it's going to be very difficult for these offensive-minded teams to keep themselves intact, knowing that guys like Hunter worth 18 or Hunter worth 11, and Tyreek Hill is worth 18, and Patrick Mahomes is worth almost $34 million right now. I mean, he is so productive as a passer, and that's what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with the stats in terms of versus Aaron Rodgers versus Matt Ryan, those kind of things. And he's just far and away. He's being allowed to do so much more that his numbers are just gaudy at this point.
All right, but so if these guys are smart,
Yeah.
they take a page out of Tom Brady's book.
I was about to go there. I'm just not sure it's feasible. Is anybody really going to do that?
Well,
Honestly.
if they want to win,
I mean, that is the model. That is the model to follow over the last decade. But I'm not sure that these guys follow that mentality.
Will everyone do it? No. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
but Tom Brady, when did Tom Brady start doing it? He didn't start doing that till he was in the league for 10 years, right?
Tom Brady never signed a max contract in his life.
They'll
Never.
they'll still make more money than Tom
Yeah.
Brady because the money has grown here in the last 5 years.
I just feel like
to
Brady,
incredible amounts.
Brady has done that towards the tail end of his career because he kind of appreciated and learned how doing that makes his longevity and his career better. That's why I asked you the question. Did Tom Brady do that in his first 5 years?
Yeah, he did.
Patrick Mahomes' father was a pitcher. He should let him know about longevity and such.
Sure. Long-time pitcher, too.
Right, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Look, they're going to have to, is the real answer. They're going to have to do some sort of creative process to keep all of these weapons intact, and that's not possible. You know what I mean? You're not keeping Kelsey, Hill, Hunt, Mahomes together for 5 to 8 years. That's not happening. It's not feasible. But at some point, Mahomes is going to have to say, I can't max out. I can't do what Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers just did. That's not feasible for a franchise who needs multiple weapons. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see where the Packers go. To me, that's a test case. Aaron Rodgers decided I'm all in. I'm digging my cleats in, and I'm going to get paid here. I'm going to be the top paid everything in the world right now. And that's not a great team, right? It's not.
No, they're not.
And the weapons are falling off. They've got Devontae Adams and X.
Yep.
They've got really nothing else. Aaron Jones is a player, but he's not going to do much for you in terms of, week by week scoring. So they're a test case for the opposite of this, right? They're a test case for the traditional thinking of the quarterback should be the highest paid, because he deserves it. I think we need to be smarter with this. I think, and I'm hoping these guys kind of step into, maybe the Tom Brady mentality. And Paul, to your point, the biggest contract Tom Brady ever signed was 4 years, $72 million, which averaged $18 million in 2010. That was a big deal. Mm-hmm. All right. From that point on, he got way smarter. I mean, and it's not about how much money he made, because he still did just fine on signing bonuses and things like that. I mean, he was very well compensated over the years, but it's about not locking his team into a long-term dead cat mess. And he's never done that. He's done that by every 2 or 3 years, we re-up this thing, right? And that's just smart business. That's what I beg baseball players to do. On a weekly basis on this
smart
episode.
agent. It's going to take an agent that isn't always after the most amount of dollars he can, and it's going to take a smart player. And a guy like Mahomes, who grew up in an athletic background, might be one more inclined to say, after talking to his father, getting the understanding of, I'll take a little less as long as I can keep the guys around me that make me look good.
I think they'll.
Jared Goff's dad was a Major League Baseball player, by the way, too.
For 90 days.
A backup catcher for the Expos.
Yeah.
And I only bring that up to say that they both come from having fathers who played professional sports, who bring a little bit of a different perspective to it, to understand how important it is that the team sometimes is more important than the individual.
Every quarterback who comes in the league is drafted. It can't be great. They all can't be great players, right? To me, Mahomes looks to be, if I had to pick one of the two, I'd pick Mahomes.
Okay.
I think he is better than Goff.
Because of the Brett Favre stuff? Because he can move and throw across the field and all that?
Just all the different things that he can do. This is not to take anything away from Goff here. I just think, if I had to pick one of the two, it'd be Mahomes. And I look at the weapons Mahomes has around him. And if I were him, I'd want to keep that band together as long as possible.
Yeah.
And if taking less makes that happen, then that makes sense. And we're talking about taking $25 million instead of $31.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's right.
Jeez, I don't know how you're going to survive, Pat.
That's right. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that is something that Drew Brees has done here over the past 3 years, and a few of those guys. And like I said, Aaron Rodgers is the test case for the opposite of this. So we'll see. We'll see which teams can sort of prevail with the way they've treated their financials of the quarterback, because it's going to be a test case for, even the Dallas Cowboys, right? Dak, apparently Jerry Jones is ready to hand a check to Dak Prescott, but I don't know.
That's a mistake.
It's a mistake.
Yeah.
Look, Jerry doesn't do anything small either. So I'm really worried that they love this guy. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. Because Dak Prescott is Ryan Tannehill. That's where we are with him.
Yeah.
In terms of the comps that I put together with our calculations, that's where he is. And the wins sort of translate, right? Aren't the Cowboys and the Dolphins sort of similar in terms of they both sort of they hang around their division and then they trail off at the end, right?
Hey, let me ask you about another team. If you're the Falcons,
what
the hell are you doing?
I'm not happy
right now.
You overpaid a running back and way overpaid a quarterback.
Yeah,
right. The quarterback is great, but you didn't have to max out on Matt Ryan. You just didn't.
No.
You didn't have to do it. So I agree. At some point, there's going to be a break. There's going to be a break where teams say, we need to look like that. And in order to look like that, you can't make $30 million a year, right? And that's just good sense. So we'll see. I do think, and this is, I've been thinking about this for a while. I do think this setback for the Philadelphia Eagles might benefit them a ton. Because if Wentz doesn't look amazing, right? But we know he is damn good.
He's a pretty good player.
He's damn good.
Yeah.
He might be better than Jared Goff. It might be Mahomes, Wentz, Goff, Trubisky, right? That's probably the order of those four right now.
I think Mahomes and Wentz.
Sorry, we got to get Watson in this conversation. Watson's probably 2A right now.
Watson's pretty good too.
But my point is, the Wentz setback is sort of like the Ezekiel Elliott injury right last year, right? Like Ezekiel Elliott's going to be able to make the Cowboys are going to be able to keep him around a little bit longer because he's fresh, right? And he's having a down year this year. That's a guy I could see being very successful for a longer time, similar to Le'Veon Bell because of what he's doing right now. But there are 5 impact quarterbacks right now who could be making $30 million. And if Carson Wentz is the second best of them, and he's having the year he's having right now, maybe he's worth 25. And that's going to benefit Philadelphia in the long run because that's a team that can get some free agents. That's a team that they have drafted well in the past. They need to revamp their offensive line. But I like Carson Wentz as a sneaky candidate for guy who maybe doesn't make the most money, but it comes out on top of this conversation at the end.
All right, so let's shift the conversation to some lines.
Yeah.
Some when you're talking about the over.
Nothing says the holidays like gambling.
Yeah, well, that's right. Hey, we got a big left-right center game coming up at Thanksgiving. Where we teach my nieces how to gamble. Major League Baseball futures, World Series odds also out. I mean, should we just put the Red Sox down?
I love looking at these now because it's so early, right? Like almost nothing's been done.
It's so much based on last year, which is always a mistake.
But isn't this the time to get in? Like I started to run these numbers, and of course the Red Sox and the Astros at the top, and then you've got the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean, those are going to be your 4 teams pretty much,
sure,
for the next 5 years. But what I was looking for was the Phillies.
Absolutely.
Because we've talked for a month and a half on this show about how the Phillies aren't just in on Bryce Harper. They're trying to get Bryce Harper and Manny Machado because they've got 6 rookies, 6 kids who are ready to go. They've got a Cy Young caliber pitcher. They've got a veteran behind him in Arrieta.
By the way, good call on DeGrom.
Yeah. Well, I was a homer there,
Yeah.
but the Phillies are 20-1 right now. And if you're in Philadelphia and you see that number and you know what your team might do in the next 2 weeks,
you're going across the bridge.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're
right?
stopping in the middle of the bridge.
That's right. That was a great article.
As long as your phone says Jersey, you're slamming the brakes on.
Paul sends me this article. I don't know what New York paper it was in, but there's a guy he's a handicapper, lives in Staten Island.
Yep.
Okay.
And he drives. If he likes a game so much, he'll get in the car.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah.
Goes across the bridge.
Pays the toll,
$6.50 in tolls he pays, stops at the first light, makes his bets on his phone, and goes back home, and he calculates it into as a cost of doing business.
Cost of doing business.
That's what people are trying to do with pot here with Canada.
Yes.
A lot of people are trying to go to Canada and bring pot back right now.
Yeah, and that's an advice for those who want to do that. Just smoke it in Canada.
Yeah.
And come back.
I was going to say, it's a little different. There's a little different rules involved there. So, yeah, I think the Phillies are the team that is ready to be in that group.
I mean,
next.
They're going to be as aggressive as anybody. I know the Dodgers are in on Bryce Harper. I know Washington wants him back. I love the Chicago Cubs as a sleeper for him. But look, Philly's going to throw a ton of money at both of those guys to basically come and say, we're ready. We just need you guys, and then we're ready to go. And if that happens, that 20-1 is going to become what?
5-1.
5, yeah,
sure.
5 in about a matter of 72 hours. So if you're a baseball aficionado and you love to gamble, to me that is the number sitting right there.
Get to Jersey.
Yeah, get anywhere legal.
Jersey or Vegas, depending upon where you listen. Or Mississippi, right? And Arkansas.
Really?
Yeah, I want to say Mississippi has legal sports gambling, and there's like 4 states that have it.
Nice.
I think Arkansas too. I think Bill Clinton made something happen in this. No, I'm kidding with the Clinton thing. Manny Machado's new team. You mentioned you're thinking Philly, right?
I'm thinking Philly.
I
but
know it's not Boston. That's for damn sure.
I know the Yankees are going to come hard at him.
Yeah.
I mean, with the injury to Gregorius.
Yeah, how long is he projects into?
It's going to be a
mid-season?
Maybe later. They're going to slow play that because he's going to be a free agent. He's going to want to slow play that. So
I like him. I like him as a player. Good player.
Phenomenal. Just a great human too. But maybe not the case with Machado, by the way. Based on,
no kidding,
I mean, boy, has the storyline changed on that guy.
Spiking guys and
Good
stuff.
Lord.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I mean, the price is going to drop on him for all of these reasons. But if the Yankees come in, and if the Yankees and the Phillies get in a bidding war for Manny Machado, yeah, that's going to be a nice big number. So we'll see.
Do you think he fits best in Philly? I mean, I'd love to see him with the Yankees though, because of the Boston rivalry now.
Yes,
and what happened in the World Series. That would be. Although I'd like to see the Yankees, if I'm going to spend some more money on pitching.
Well, they made a trade acquisition.
That's right, they did.
Seattle,
Paxton,
right?
And I'll say this: knowing they've done that, knowing they've used assets in that manner, they didn't have to pay. They didn't have to, right? They didn't have to overpay for a pitcher. So where there's going to be maybe a small number 4 coming in to round out that rotation, that's not going to be big money. So their big money still could be a guy like Machado.
Super Bowl odds.
Yeah.
So
no surprises.
You alluded the Saints are the favorite. They're 3-1 right now. Rams are 4-1. Chiefs 6-1. Pats 15-2 and Steelers 17-2. Those last 2 are value, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
15
like I said,
17
the Steelers might be the most balanced team of these 6. I threw an outlier on the bottom there. Are you ignoring my outlier? Are you afraid to look at that?
I'm not ready to go there yet.
I was ready to get
I'm just going to say it because the Redskins are 100-1. And the Redskins
a lot of
have
faith
been
in Colt McCoy.
I don't, but I didn't have any faith in Nick Foles last year either. And that's my point. Right? I mean, the Eagles were dead, guys.
Yeah.
This time last year, the Eagles were absolute dog crap. And they thought so. And then all of a sudden, it just was win after win, week after week. And the Redskins have looked awful. Do you know this stat about the Redskins? The Redskins have not had a lead change all year in any game.
Really? They're either behind.
That's
they lose.
freaking unbelievable.
So if they're behind, they lose. If they're ahead,
first
they win.
person to score wins.
That's incredible.
Okay, so that's the fun fact, but that doesn't get us to where we got to go. My point is, Colt McCoy's been sitting on that bench there for a few years now, and that's similar to what Foles has been doing. Right? He's sort of been the just a guy with a clipboard scouting out the way the league is going, and that can't be discounted. Colt McCoy was
Did Colt McCoy ever have
college
a good
football
season like Foles had?
Where?
That's
where
the
did
difference.
Foles have a season?
Foles had that one season under Chip Kelly where he threw like 27 touchdowns and one interception.
He and Jeremy
You're right.
Maclin were a great
You're
fantasy
right.
football
So
combination.
that's my question. Colt McCoy's a solid guy, but Colt McCoy never had that kind of season where you're like, oh boy, he could be okay as a starter.
And Nick Foles also made Andy Reid look like a terrible coach.
Awful. He flamed out of the Rams
Right.
and the Chiefs. To be
That's right.
honest.
That's right. Anyhow, we
here's the point,
digress.
though. There's nothing about the Redskins that I like. I don't like the receivers.
I like the uniforms they wore.
I'm
Sunday.
ready for Adrian Peterson to just tear something. I mean, right? I mean, how is this still happening?
You know why
the defense isn't great. They did get hot. I love the Clinton Dix acquisition. To me, that's a sleeper
just don't like
move.
the owner.
Well,
right? I mean, that's you have a negative opinion of the Redskins because of the owner.
No, I wasn't even going to go
By
there.
the
This is
way-
like your fat face last week.
Which I was right on, by the way. Alex Smith,
Oh my goodness.
Ugh, how gross was that?
The fact that it was to the 33 years to the day of the
Right.
Theismann injury was
Scary.
incredibly freaky.
That's like movie stuff.
Yes.
He's got to be done, right?
I guess I should lay out that stuff. I did some tweets on him. Just for our listeners out there, it's not pretty if you're a Redskins fan. Here's the financials on Alex Smith, all right? He is owed, obviously, $15 million guaranteed next year, another $16 million guaranteed for injury in 2020. That means if he can't pass a physical in March of 2020 because of this injury, they're going to have to pay him $16 million cash. Here's what happens. If he's done, right, and there's probably a 50-50 chance he's
I would say
done,
so.
just based on
That
his
thing
age
looked
and the
I feel
injury.
like guys come back from those.
They do.
As bad as it looked,
They do, but he's
it's
34.
medically
He's
not
34,
as bad
Paul.
as you'd think.
His leg was in
but
three
quarterback.
pieces.
Yeah, but again, Kevin, the old saying was sometimes you'd rather break your leg than tear your ACL.
I heard
It
that.
looked like a
Yeah.
scene from Saving Private Ryan.
But it doesn't. It's a break. A break is a break.
that was more than just a
Well,
break.
yeah,
dude.
but I'm saying from a medical perspective, it was just
That
a
was-
break.
That was not just a break.
All right.
Anyhow.
Here's the breakdown real quick. Here's the dead cap on Alex Smith if he's done, if he has to retire. 20.4 next year, 21.4 in 2020, and 10.8 in 21.
If you're him, wouldn't you retire?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But you said 34. Quarterbacks are playing till they're 40. So
Yeah, but-
so 34 isn't a red flag to me at all.
To me, I look at this injury like I look at Tony Romo's injury.
Yeah.
Where it was just one of those things at his age he just couldn't come back from. You know what I mean? And it's possible. Look, I hope that he's back because for the Redskins' sake and his sake, they need a few more years out of him because this contract was built for 4 years. So we'll see where that goes. But the money is not good if you're a Redskins fan.
All right, can we rank real quick the the compound fracture, broken legs in professionals in sports history?
Okay.
Tim Crumry.
Timmy
Nice.
Crumry, Super Bowl. I mean, it whipped around like a helicopter blade.
Yep.
That was gross. There's Theismann, which many will
Theismann.
say is the worst.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was pretty bad. Nothing beats the kid from Louisville.
God, that was awful.
During the NCAA
The
tournament,
basketball,
right?
yeah.
The basketball. That to me was the
That might
worst.
be the worst. That might be the worst.
That was the worst because
You saw it so much
Yeah.
clearer than you do in
it
an
broke
NFL.
right through the skin, and you could see it right there. You're like,
just the reaction of people right there, like
Yes.
the fans in the front row.
Yeah.
That was just awful.
yeah. So I think that, and
This is good radio. By the way.
I feel bad that I don't know the kid's name's Kevin something, right?
Yeah, you're right. That's good enough. Nice.
Yeah, that to me is number one.
Yeah.
And then I'd give Theismann a number 2. I'll go Alex Smith 3.
Okay.
Crumry 4. And I know we're missing something else. There's got to be another one in there that we're missing.
I'm sure.
But The guy from the Bears.
Zach Miller.
Yes. That was
Kevin Ware, by the way.
There it is. Kevin
was
Ware.
Louisville
Kevin Ware.
All I had to
basketball
do was
player.
Google Louisville broken leg, and it came right up.
Yeah,
Goodness.
gross. Okay, NBA futures.
No
You have-
surprises.
Yeah, you have. What do we have? The Lakers are 10-1.
Really?
Yeah, look at the Lakers are 9-7, and the Rockets are 8-7, and both are 10-1 and 12-1 right now. And the 12-4 Milwaukee Bucks are 20-1. So there's absolutely no faith in that team or the Greek Freak right now.
I love the Greek Freak.
I love that
He's
team as a
awesome.
whole. They're doing some really. I've seen
Yes.
them a few times this year. That's a balanced team. I'm not sure that they can grind it out for 82 and then a long postseason. But look at like I
Lopez
said with
shooting
the
the
Phillies.
threes, yes.
Like I said with the Phillies, 20-1's a nice number right now if you're sitting here and you're an NBA guy.
The Sixers have to be the favorite right now out of the East, right?
No, Toronto.
Well,
Toronto, then Boston, and
I'm
both
still
have
going-
problems.
I'll
in my
still go with
opinion,
the Sixers,
Yeah,
frankly.
I think Boston has to trade somebody.
Yes.
There's too many fish to feed right now on that team. They don't really. Brad Stevens doesn't really know how to make it all work. He's sort of Brad Stevens has been good with underdogs, and he's got superstars now, and that's a very different element for him. Right? He's not Phil Jackson. He's not the guy who can kind of reign over this thing and see these guys through. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic when Kyrie Irving gets closer and closer to free agency and Gordon Hayward actually starts to play a little ball here. That to me, that's a very interesting team to watch.
They were better with Irving hurt.
Yeah. I think for the reasons I'm talking about.
Yes.
Brad, he was able to use these no-namers as legitimate players because that's what he's great at. That's his bread and butter. So, yeah, we'll see where that goes.
All right. Golden State Warriors out west.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real conversation here until Durant and Thompson leave next year.
Where's Kevin Durant going?
Yeah, here's the odds on that. Boy, this surprised the heck out of me. I don't know about you guys. The Lakers are the odds-on favorites.
What did I tell you? I told you they were the favorites.
Can LeBron and Durant live together?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. You know why? Because LeBron needs to be able to take nights off.
He's going to back off a little?
Yes.
35,
Listen,
feeling good about life?
He's no dummy. He saw how Jordan did it, and Jordan became a perimeter player.
I
LeBron,
can see that. I can see it.
So
Do
LeBron
we-
wants
do
to
we-
sit back
is
and
the-
shoot threes and let Durant shoot those mid-range jumpers.
Is the question become whether Durant wants his own team or not?
Yeah. And
Isn't that the
He
question?
had his own team and lost.
that was Russell Westbrook's team.
Yeah, that's what
No,
I'm
it was
saying.
not.
I-
That was when they went to the finals.
Don't
and
ask
lost them
Westbrook, though.
I understand.
That's what I
that.
mean. In terms of ego, that was not Kevin Durant's team.
Well, in terms
and I think
of,
that's what we're talking about here.
on the outside, to me, it was Kevin Durant's team. He was the player.
Production-wise, you're right, but I think there was a locker room rift there.
Does he want to go and bring a bunch of guys with him like LeBron has done? Does he
Doesn't
want
that
to
make-
follow the model?
That makes the Knicks the favorites, in my
That makes
opinion.
the Knicks the
And they're
favorite. I know you're big on the
they're
Knicks.
plus 750 right now.
And I think it's be easy to get guys to come to New York. He'll
can beat
find
Picasso
2 or
out
3
there.
guys to
Yeah.
come with him, and he'll build his own super team.
They've got
to me,
unlimited
that makes a
funds.
lot more sense. I can't pretend to know what's going through Kevin Durant's
That's
mind,
right.
but to go combine with LeBron doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He did that by going to Golden State to combine with Steph.
All right. So does he just want cash or does he want to win?
I think he wants
if
his
you wanna
own
win,
legacy.
you don't leave.
Correct. If you want to win, you don't leave.
Yeah, but he's won. So now it becomes about your own legacy.
So what the hell are you playing for?
No.
He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. His
I'm with
legacy's
Paul
already
here, though.
cemented.
I'm with Paul because Kevin, to your point, going to the Lakers would be to win with LeBron, right?
Yeah.
But he can already win in Golden State. Just stay. So to me, if he leaves, it's going to be for exactly something like the Knicks, right?
Or the Wizards, right, to go home.
Sure, if they make a
Go
few
play
trades
John
here,
Wall.
But the Knicks would be literally square one. He could literally bring 2 to 3 guys he wants with him, with a blank slate. There's a couple of good rookies they've had over the past 2 years. To me, it should be the favorite because if he leaves at all, the Golden State should be the favorite, and then it should be the Knicks second because the Lakers make no sense to me. Even looking at these odds, they make no sense.
Unless
to
he
me.
wants to play in L.A.
Then go to the Clippers.
Glitz.
Then go to the Clippers. They're plus 5,000.
Yeah,
By
but
the way,
if
they're
I
the
can-
third best team in the West right
If
now.
that's where I thought LeBron.
That's ridiculous.
That's where I thought LeBron was going to go. By the way, was the Clippers.
Yeah,
because
I
he'd be
wouldn't
in
have discounted
L.A.
that.
and he'd never be one of
Clippers
the
are
Lakers.
not the Lakers, nor will they ever be.
Well,
You know what I mean?
what I'm saying is LeBron could have made them.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. I just think it's the Lakers, and that's why he won't go. All right, how about a little NHL while we're on this topic?
Super interesting stuff with the NHL, right? Here's the one thing that really stands out. All right, the Pittsburgh Penguins are in dead last place right now. I don't know how, but they're in dead last place right now.
Well, Crosby's been hurt.
A little bit of a cup hangover, a little bit to it. We've seen
seen
the Blackhawks go through the same
they're on
thing.
a 2-year hangover.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But we've seen teams that, after sustained runs of success, kind of all the extra games where
they played a ton of hockey. That's the
right.
Blackhawks issues. They played a ton. You look over that span of every other year for the Blackhawks, and then you look at the international competitions and even make the playoff. They played a ton of hockey.
Here's the point. The Pittsburgh Penguins are still the 7th best favorite team to win the Cup this year. And they're in last place right now, a quarter of the season through.
Yeah.
You believe that? You think they're going to turn it around?
I think they're too far back to, well, listen, all they got to do is get in the playoffs.
That's right.
That's all that needs to happen.
That's right. They can slow play it like the Warriors have done.
Buffalo's the third team in the East right now.
Yeah.
And
they're 40-1.
Right, yeah, and they should be 40-1 because their defense is not playoff ready.
Yeah.
And, they're having to come what they've done in their recent win streak is come from behind to win.
That's a playoff team, though.
Listen, all they got to do is win 6 out of every 10 games going forward. They make the playoffs.
That's right.
So I agree. They put themselves in a playoff spot.
That's right.
It's theirs to lose right now. All they got to do is win 6 out of 10 games. That's take 12 out of 20 points. Down the rest of the way, you're going to make the playoffs.
How about Vegas? 25-1 right now to get back there.
I think it was inevitable there was going to be a step back.
Just a fluky kind of first year?
No, I mean, Fluky infers that they didn't do it because they weren't a good team. They were a good team. I just think the initial season, the way that rules for the expansion were built for them, it was a surprise, not a shock they were as good as they were last year, but inevitably there's going to be a step back.
They got great goaltending, and they had the mentality of we're a bunch of cast-offs. Right. Let's show them, right?
To Paul's point, the expansion rules basically put them in rentals, right?
Correct.
They had 6 or 7 rentals from other teams, and they absolutely maximized it.
Which, in the history of the National Hockey League, it's amazing what players are expiring have their contracts up at the end of the year. How well they play, it's incredible.
In a new city
for Buffalo
with tons of fans,
right.
It was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm for them,
right?
Okay, how about to tell you who's going to win the Stanley Cup right now? I don't know that I could, but I would tell you.
I wouldn't bet Toronto. I'll tell you that.
No, I wouldn't bet Toronto. Yeah. The Caps, who won it last year,
20-1. How about these 20-1s? You can get the Phillies, you can get the Washington Capitals, and you can get what was the other
Tampa
one?
Bay at.
Wait, what was the other one? The Milwaukee Bucks at 20-1. Those are 3 bets worth making, in my opinion.
All right, final thing, golf.
Yeah, this is my
fun territory here.
This week, so we had to bring it up, right?
Friday, correct?
Phil versus Tiger, $9 million to the winner of the match.
How about that number, by the way?
$9 million?
It's basically like winning the PGA Championship, right? Don't you get $10 million?
It's $500,000 for winning the FedEx Cup. You get a $10 million annuity.
That's essentially
correct.
what this is.
Yes,
it's crazy.
It's what it is, but they already have a bet on hole 1. Phil bet $200,000. Well, he bet $100,000 in the press conference that he'd make a birdie in the first hole, and Tiger goes, "Why don't you double it?"
Double it, yeah.
So $200,000. Is it Phil's own money?
Yeah.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. So it's
is there going to be more of that?
But I thought it's going to charity, right?
All of this.
Did they say that's going to charity?
Yeah.
Any side bets are going to charity.
They're getting some ancillary money aside from the $9 million,
of course,
right? From pay-per-view and from sponsors,
right?
The
Bleacher Report money,
Yeah. So because listen, these guys they don't need to do this, right? So there's a lot of, to me, there's a lot on the line with this. With what they're doing with this, will there be future matches in golf head-to-head? Because you don't often get it in a tournament anymore, especially with these players. They're both great players. Phil makes some great points. Like even the birdie's like, "Hey, look, man, I'm one of the best short iron, might be the best ever, short iron players. So I'm going to put it close. I'm going to make a birdie." And Tiger said, "Well, you know how you like to flare your 2-iron sometimes, right?" So, which is also true. So this should be a great match. The betting will be interesting. Listen, they want to beat each other. Let's not kid ourselves. They want to win. The ego's here to win the match. Tiger's not great in match play, hasn't been recently. And if you lose a hole, so what, right? If you're Phil, you're like, okay. Phil is the ultimate go for it golfer. This is his deal.
Yeah, tin cup, right?
Yeah. So he's he may have an advantage in this. I'm just saying, right? Because he just goes for it all the time. That's been his style all the way. I love the fact that they can bet on certain holes. I hope they start betting on shots. Meaning,
I was going to say, there's going to be more of that, right?
There has to be, right, to make it compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's two guys golfing over an 18-hole match. It could be done by hole 15, whatever. There's got to be a little bit of, hey, Paul, I bet you missed this putt.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll bet you $50,000 you miss it.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be some of that. And you say, you know what? If I make it, it's 100. You know, whatever. Some of that's got to.
Does one of them have to say, "There's no gambling here at Shadow Creek, and I never miss"?
This is, you know, and they actually did this years ago with Poker Stars. NBC it must not have gone very well, but they were betting on every shot.
Really?
So, like Phil Hellmuth would be, or maybe Ivy. I forget which one who would be. Dan Negreanu, I think, was doing it too. He'd be 100 yards away from the hole, and they'd be like, $20,000 says you don't get it within 30 feet, right?
Really?
You know, all right, I'll take the bet. Boom. and they had a chip count and everything that they were betting. And I think they bought in themselves with their own money, like they would a poker tournament. So, you know, to me, this is it's fascinating to see where this will go. They've had skins games before where they win a hole, right, and money, but it's always been pot money. I'd always listen. These guys bet in practice rounds. It happens, right? Every amateur watching, you know, we all bet a little bit on golf. So to me, that'll be interesting to see what they bet on each hole, and I think it's fine. I think it'll be fun.
So Phil's plus 160. You probably love that then, based on what you've said here.
My money would be on Phil. Yes,
because the money's
absolutely.
on Tiger right now.
Yeah, the money's on Tiger. Tiger's had the better finish to the year in tournament, but
Phil had a terrible year.
This is he won though.
Yeah.
He won. To me, this would be one of those things where I think this suits Phil's personality more.
Yeah.
The gambling, go for it situation. Not that, you know, Tiger's a great competitor head to head, but just in matches, like hasn't been a strength as of late.
So the only thing I was thinking about, because I always...
It hasn't been for Phil. If you look at the Ryder Cup, Phil sucked in the Ryder Cup. So
awful. I always think in these terms, right, in terms of multi-sports, and I was thinking this can't happen anywhere else, right? Like you can't have a one-on-one basketball or even a one-on-one tennis, because the injury risk is so high, right?
Yes.
I mean, and even tennis, you can't really put guys out there like Federer and Nadal on some major stage. Just the injury risk of any other sport would be too much to risk, right?
But they don't need to do it because Federer and Nadal meet.
That's right.
Often.
That's right. There's no head-to-head for Tiger Phil like this. This
I'm
is
trying
unique.
to think.
NASCAR? Could you do NASCAR and just have two cars go out there and battle it?
No, I mean, I'm trying to think if Phil and Tiger, I'm trying to think of a pairing together in a final round.
Yeah, it's happened, but it's definitely happened.
Not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to have happened. On a Sunday?
I'm going to look. Yeah, I'm talking final round.
Sunday?
You know, Phil playing Tiger.
It's interesting.
I can't recall, like, where they've been in the final group of the Masters. They've been maybe a group, you know, behind each other, but, you know, playing head to head just hasn't been. And these are the two icons in their 40s. I mean, these guys, you know, were the guy. But give Phil credit. He's the one who said, hey, look, Tiger's got the money to where it's been on the PGA Tour. As good as I've been, like, it's about Tiger.
Yeah.
And you look at what he's done to reinfuse that.
It's really interesting. I hated it when it first came out because it seemed so gimmicky, but now that it's here, and I appreciate the uniqueness of it. Like I said, I don't think this could happen anywhere else. All these other, even the all-star situations in every sport are a disaster right now, right? Like the Pro Bowl is a mess. NBA basketball all-star game is 7,000 to 6,500, right? I mean, it's awful. So to me, this is golf sort of saying, we can do this and it'll be great, and millions of people are going to pay a lot of money for this, and I think it's going to benefit a lot of people. Not to mention, I ran some earnings numbers on these guys. Tiger's made $6 million over the past 5 years because of his injuries. He's made nothing on the course, and Phil's made 10 over the past 3. So a $9 million purse is, you know, not chump change for these guys right now at their age and their stage of their careers.
All right, the Masters. 2001, they were paired together the final round. Tiger had a one-stroke lead on Phil headed the final round, and Tiger shot 68 to win the Masters. To complete the Tiger Slam. He won all 4 consecutive majors there. So that's it's only been twice that they've been at Augusta. So the big events, it's only been a couple times. So that's why this is so compelling. To make it happen.
Probably worth your $20, don't you think?
I think so. Unfortunately, I have to coach a basketball game. Well, I mean, I like coaching basketball, and I thank the people that the tournament, the schedule's right at 3:00. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So by the time I get home, it'll be half over.
Yeah, you'll be seeing highlights at that point.
I'll be seeing highlights at that point. So I will not. Unfortunately, I'll just have to see the highlights and stuff after. Because I was ready to go. I do a viewing party. I was going to go to. I was going to help host it. That's not happening now, thanks to the schedule makers. But I think it's great.
Families always gets in the way. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
There you go. So.
Right. All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving is right. I hope everybody has a great time. Hope you enjoyed listening to a lot of compelling stuff. I think we should come and have beer more often, Mike.
Yeah.
Deal.
Deal sold on that. Happy Thanksgiving to Mike, you and your family. Paul, to you and your family.
Thank you.
Everybody out there. I'm Kevin Sylvester. Make sure you give us a good rating on iTunes. Check it out. Check out the premiere section at SpotTrack.com. As it's getting interesting. All the money in sports and all the different things that we've discussed here for nearly an hour on the SpotTrack.com podcast.